All right, my friends, we just pressed the Let's Go Live button over here, and so we got to wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs. Before we go ahead and get started, got to make sure those tubes are working and that we're not getting attacked by floaties in the sky. But I think we got that one. And so it is a beautiful Tuesday. We've got some business to attend to. It looks like the tubes are connecting themselves. That's tremendous. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we are talking about Michael Cohen up on the stand for cross-examination, and we have a lot to unpack. We wrap up with the direct testimony on day 17 of the Bragg prosecution. We're going to go in there. You can see we've got a little preview of what Cohen looked like on there. This is an artist interpretation, okay? This is not an actual photograph from the courtroom, although it might as well be. And we'll see what happened. He was wrapping up with the prosecutor, so we'll come out and talk about that. Of course, go into the testimony courtesy of Inner City Press Reporting, Matthew Russell Lee. But there was some more hubbub out there on the interwebs about Dan Goldman, that guy from New York who bought his congressional seat. And he is now apparently admitting that he was involved in the preparation of Michael Cohen in this entire ordeal. Says, I've deposed him many times. And in fact, I even met with him to prepare him. And we go, oh, that's a nice little interesting slip of the tongue there, Dan. And our friend Amuse, Truth Ninja, and Laura Loomer, they all dug into this. And it turns out Dan Goldman is also a client of the judge's daughter. Isn't that fun? So he pays the judge's daughter, Lauren Mercon from Authentic, to go, I guess, run his emails and run his Facebook ads and all sorts of other things. And we'll look into that. He's also paid a lot of money to her. So we'll go through some of those details before we jump into the trial testimony on the day. Of course, we know that Avenatti is still in prison. Trump mentioned him when he came out to speak today. So we'll see what the president said before we jump into the testimony. And look at all these people who were there. It's like the Justice Avengers, man. Look at that. Dun, dun, dun. Need some music here. They come out to support the president. Good looking group. Most of them. Some of them. Yeah, some of them. And anyway, so we'll go into that and hear what Inner City Press has to say on day 17 of the trial. Before we hear from Mike Johnson, he came out this morning. We talked about this on our members only stream this morning and had a real good little rant here. So we'll hear what he says, and then we'll jump into Cohen's cross. So we'll get the direct exam out of the way. Then we'll come back. They break. We'll come back. We'll have cross examination. Todd Blanche is going to lead it, and you back in and see what he says. And then Trump came out and spoke after the fact, and we'll listen to a little bit of that again. But we've also got some thoughts on what might be coming next. And it turns out this is going to be the last witness that we'll have from the government. For whatever reason, they've decided that Michael Cohen is it. They're going to leave that one hanging. And the jury's going to have to, I guess, make their conclusion. So we got questions. Why didn't they bring Weisselberg? Will the judge grant a directed verdict when Cohen's done? Is there going to be another witness that the Trump defense calls? Are they going to call anybody? Are they going to call an expert witness? Are they going to call another Trump organization employee? We'll talk about it. Or are they going to just come back and rest their case? We have no trial tomorrow. And we also have Friday, which is off because there was a conflict there. And something was else scheduled, maybe a graduation or something. So no trial on Friday. And so we'll be back on Thursday to pick back up with trial. Of course, we'll still be here tomorrow. And on Friday is the plan. But just so we're aware of what the schedule looks like. And so we've got a lot of business to get to today. We are very excited that you are here and grateful that you are joining us as we go through all of this history in the making. And we'll get into it. Now, we also have a members only community. We do members only streams in the morning. We'd love to have you come join us. We talk about a bunch of other stuff that we can't get into here. We go a little bit deeper on some of these topics. We talk about Joe Biden, been talking about some Gaza, Palestine stuff, and talking about all sorts of things. So come join us, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. It's a great way to support our show, support our work here, join the best community of all time. and get some extra content, have some fun doing it. We also stream on Saturdays. Love to have you. As a member on the YouTubes or as a member on Locals, come on over and see us. If you want to get any PDFs or you want to download documents that we show here on the screen, you can grab those at robertgovea.com. Other stuff there is a calendar, show reports, merch store, and so on. And then we have watcherlodge.com, which is our sovereignty and self-development community. We are excited. We've got our first in-person meetup taking place this summer, June 29th, Trump Hotel, Las Vegas. All the plans are coming together. I'm getting excited about it. So if you want to join us, come join us. RSVP. Read the details before you RSVP, and only if you can come, then press the RSVP button and come on and join us. And we'll see you there in Vegas at Trump Hotel, baby. During an election season, it's just going to be just so fun. Okay, so without any further ado, my friends, let's get into the business on the day. And give me 1 second. It's a little bit warm in here. We had to turn the temperature down here a little bit, and that is happening now. All right, so let's get to it, my friends. Democrats helped to prep Michael Cohen before he came to testify, and the person behind all of this is the same person you've seen and heard a lot of. His name is Dan Goldman, a representative who basically paid for his congressional seat. He's an heir to the Levi Strauss family, got a bunch of money, just dumped it into his race. And now he's in Congress. And ever since he came into Congress, he has been waging a one-man war against Donald Trump, along with Raskin and others, just trying to take out Trump, him versus the DNC versus Trump. It's wild. So we got this clip from him, very short clip, where he comes out and he says, you know, I helped prepare Michael Cohen before he's going to come out and testify. And so let's listen to this short little blurb here from Dan Goldman himself. This clip came from our friend Johnny MAGA, great follow over on the X platform. And he says, you know, he met with him a number of times to prepare him. Isn't that interesting, Dan?
Have deposed Michael Cohen. I have met with him a number of times to prepare him. And I have deposed Michael Cohen. I have met with him a number of times to prepare him.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so very curious, Dan, a little slip of the tongue there. And our friends Amuse, Truth Ninja, Laura Loomer have all been digging into this. Amuse pulled this one up today, and he's a great follow on X. He says, is it a coincidence that the Democrat star witness called Michael Cohen has been working with Democrat Representative Dan Goldman to prepare for cross-examination, and that Dan is a customer of acting Justice Mercan's daughter, Wanda Khan? How much is Dan paying Lauren Mercan? Interesting, huh? Nice little screen grab here from our friend Amuse, at Amuse. Great follow. And you can follow him, and he has this on his account. He says here, full client list from Representative Dan Goldman. Full client authentic. President Lauren Mercan, the judge's daughter, the same judge who is allowing Trump to be railroaded in his courtroom with this rigged trial with star witnesses porn star Daniels and perjurer Michael Cohen. Very, very curious. Now, guess who else she works for? Kamala Harris for president. Also worked for John Tester, Cory Booker, all of these other people. Has literally worked for everybody against Trump. You see any Republicans on here? No. So that is one clip from Amuse. We also had another one from Truth Ninja. He dug into this a little bit further and found this X, and he posted this one in response to Amuse. He shared this one saying, look, he admitted to prepping Michael Cohen for today's testimony. He's given over 150 grand to the judge's daughter who is the president of Authentic Campaign, Dan Goldman for New York. $13,000, $3,500, $2,500, $37,000. It's wild, huh? So they're getting it on both sides. So they're training the witnesses. They have the judge. Goldman's paying the judge's daughter. Just get rid of this guy. Okay, just take care of him. And then Cohen is also meeting with Dan. And Dan's like, I'll prep you for your cross-examination on the witness stand. I'll play a mean Trump opponent. And then we've got Laura Loomer, who is also on X, and she shared this today. And you know who she is. Of course, you're following her already. But she shared this. Look at this one. Here's a nice little screen grab that Laura Loomer got. Follow her at Laura Loomer. She posted this one, little screen grab from Authentic. Isn't that fun? Nobody Authentic posted this on their X account. Nobody's fighting harder to save our democracy and our planet than Dan Goldman, and he'll be an amazing addition to Congress next year. Save our planet. Oh, these people are lunatics. They have a God complex, which is just wild. So literally, he's going to go and save democracy and save our planet. Look at Dan Goldman. Save democracy, save planet. All right, Dan. We're all going to die. Thanks for that. Democracy's over. We're all going to die. So that's Dan. Great job. All right. So that apparently is what is happening. They are rallying the DNC. We already know that Matthew Colangelo got paid by the DNC. We already know that Susan Hoffencher donated to Joe Biden and donated to Act Blue. And it's all just happening right here in New York. Isn't it wild? All right. So Trump came out. Avenatti's in prison, and Avenatti is right about this. Trump calls him out. Another great clip from Johnny Maga. Make sure you're following him. I'm telling you. Trump just quoted Michael Avenatti outside the courtroom. And here is what Trump said in this exchange. This is this morning before testimony started. Michael Cohen's back on the stand. We're jumping into that next. Here is Trump.
I might just quote somebody that frankly has been extremely respectful to me over the last period of a few months. He's watching this scam taking place. Michael Avenatti.
Yeah.
You heard the name? He said the next time you're accused of something by someone, a coworker, neighbor, friend, significant other, stranger, ask yourself if it would be okay if only they were allowed to speak, accuse, antagonize, while you were not allowed to respond. He's talking about the gag order. Or defend yourself in any way. If your answer is no, then you too should be angered by Trump not being allowed to respond to the various people that are making comments.
Exactly right. So he comes out, the media asks a bunch of questions. He can't respond to any of it. And apparently everyone else can. Stormy Daniels can have little tweets about it. Michael Cohen was selling his TikTok Trump in jail t-shirts before he got scolded by the judge. And so Trump is out there. You see gold power tie today. Gold, baby. And Todd Blanche is flanking him on his left. And so that is the scene inside the courtroom, a closer shot of the entourage that was there today. And it's a nice crew here. We got Byron Donalds. We got Doug Burgum. We got Mike Johnson, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Corey Mills all in the house. Looks like a Jason Miller might be in the background. Eric Trump over there. And so it's a full house. And these are some pretty big names. We saw very powerful statements from a bunch of these people this morning, all of them, in fact, in front of the media, showing support, showing solidarity for the president. And they're all in red, except Mike Johnson, who's mostly blue, which is just perfect, isn't it? Isn't that fun? So it's mostly, there's some red in there, just some stripes of red, but mostly blue. Okay, so it's absolutely appropriate. The symbolism is just on point. Well done, gentlemen. So, all right, that is the scene. Now we go into testimony, and as per usual, we check in with Inner City Press, who is there and reporting. And so let's get right to it. You know where to follow him. Inner City Press. Matthew Russell Lee, he's on X at Inner City Press, and you can also grab his books from Amazon. And so we always like to retruth this as soon as we're here. So if you're following along at home, you can join us. But this is where Michael Cohen picks back up. Inner City Press is there. His links are in our description. We're waiting for court to get in session. We just saw Trump. He was outside talking to the press and the media. He's looking sharp. Blue suit, gold tie. In the courtroom, seated at the defense table, talking to Todd Blanche, defense attorney. Todd Blanche is in the lead counsel seat. He's going to be up cross-examining Michael Cohen. We're waiting. There's murmurs and whispers in the courtroom. And then, door burst open. All rise! Judge walks in. Please be seated. He throws his robe on. He says, this is the people, the clerk says, this is the people of the state of New York against the people of the state of New York. So let me make a correction on that. This is the case of the state of New York versus Donald Trump. Indictment number, blah, blah, blah. All right, good morning, says Judge Mercan. Is there anything that we need to address before we begin this morning? Government prosecutor says, Your Honor, may we approach, please? He says, fine. They walk up to the bench. Whispered sidebar. Trump's back at the defense table. He's leaning to his left. And now he's speaking with the second, which is the lawyer, Emile Beauvais. Susan Nicholas is also in the conversation, but she's in it talking to somebody behind her, seated in front of the bar. We go back. And the judge says, we're ready now. Let's go. Bring in the witness. Michael Cohen walks in. Jury's right behind him. Direct exam continues. Government prosecutor says to Cohen, hello again, Mr. Cohen. Nice to have you back. Yeah, good morning. We're going to start back up with Government Exhibit 39. This is a prosecutor, probably Susan Hoffinger, speaking. We're starting with this document. Let's put this up. It's a document in evidence. And Mr. Cohen, can you describe to us what People's 39 is, Government 39? He says, yeah. It's an email from Jeff McConney to me. It says, get me the invoices you spoke to Alan about. Thanks, Jeff. He says, okay. Get me the invoices so Jeff McConney to me, get me the invoices you spoke to Weisselberg about. All right, thanks, Jeff. Okay. On February 8th, Michael, did you visit the White House 2017? So this is when Trump is in office. He says, I did. What were you there for? Well, President Trump asked me if I needed money. I said no, I was okay. He said, though, be sure you talk to Alan. Wow, so you got asked to go to the White House. Yeah. Did you take any photos when you were there, Michael? He says, yeah, I did. How come you took photos? He said, well, because I was visiting the White House. It's pretty awesome. So now there are photos. Michael Cohen, he's at the briefing room podium. He stands there where Karine stands normally. You know, it's really in both the same capacity. So he says, I could do this job. He's probably right. Government says, this is Exhibit 254. Mr. Cohen, can you tell us what this is? He says, yeah, that's my calendar. And it is an information about February 8th, 2018. That's a calendar. That's your calendar. Yeah. And is that your calendar event? Yeah. And what is this? Well, that's my reply to Jeff McConney. And it's regarding $2. I wrote $2. I wrote, please have the January and February checks payable to Michael D. Cohen, Esquire. Jeff replied, okay, please invoice me. Send me an invoice, and then I'll cut you the check. And Cohen says, well, I asked him to remind me of the monthly amount in my email. Well, why'd you have to do that? What's the monthly amount? Why'd you have to get reminded? He said, well, I didn't have the document with me, so I didn't know. And you didn't have a retainer either, did you? I did not. So I created an invoice and emailed it. I said, Dear Alan, pursuant to the retainer, he wrote in his email back to him. So we're just trying to settle a payment. They say, Cohen, send us an invoice. We'll get you paid. So he says, I just created an invoice, but I wrote in there, Dear Alan, pursuant to the retainer, here is my invoice for the amount. Government says, Mr. Cohen, so that's interesting. You sent them an invoice, but had you in fact rendered any services in those 2 months? Objection, overruled. Prosecutor says, was this invoice a false record? Cohen says, yes. Gasps in the courtroom. And the other invoices were false, Mr. Cohen? Yes, they were. Did you receive 11 checks in 2017, Mr. Cohen? Yes, ma'am, I did. And what is this exhibit for? He says, that's a check stub that was sent to me, a check that was sent to me for $70,000 for January and February 2017. It's why we have 34 charges, not 36. And it had a stub attached to it. He says, yeah, it was one of the stubs. And were the descriptions here on this check stub false? He says they were. And who signed this document? He says Eric Trump and Alan Weisselberg signed it from the Trump Revocable Trust. And this March invoice was false too. And I've got an interest. I mean, this is wild. So is this the crime? I was going to keep going a bit, but I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Is this the crime? Is this what they're saying? That the invoices were for 2017, but services were rendered in 2016? So is that illegal? You can't pay you have to pay your lawyer within net 60 or something like that? Are you nuts? Is that the problem? So services rendered, I created an invoice. I said pursuant to the retainer something, but had you rendered any services in those 2 months? And they don't let that question in, but I mean, maybe they do in the further transcript. But then he says, was this invoice a false record? Yes. Why? Because he didn't render any services in those 2 months. No, but he did render legal services before. And what is it? Is there a time cap? Is there some New York statute that says you got to pay your lawyer within 60 days or 90 days or 6 months or something like that? I don't think so. I know lawyers who get paid years later from when they rendered services. Happens all the time. In fact, many of them are called personal injury attorneys who work for free for years and don't get paid until there's a judgment or a settlement. Happens all the time. So he's getting paid based upon the natural course of paying an attorney. They're running a campaign. He got delayed. He's going into the White House. Just standard business delays. So is that the crime? That they're saying you sent an invoice that was for services in this specific month and you didn't do anything in this specific month and therefore that's illegal. And you can't bill for past services or something? Okay, so that was a false record? Now, the March invoice was false too. Yes, ma'am. And who signed those checks? Well, Trump didn't. Don Jr. did, and Alan Weisselberg did. And who signed this one, though? Donald Trump signed it. Did you get 8 more of these checks, Mr. Cohen? Yes, I did. And it's going to be a lot of these checks, right? So this invoice was put up for the month of June. 725 Fifth Avenue. It says, Dear Alan, Cohen says, I just cut and pasted it. I said, this is for 2 months because the check for May was lost. Okay, Cohen's so dumb. A check comes in. He's like, I don't know what I did with it. $35,000 check. He's like, I put it in my washing machine. Sorry. Who signed this one? Michael. He says, Donald J. Trump. And July, he says that was 725 Fifth. And how about this one in August? Was this false? Yes. And how about this one? Was that also false? He says, yes, ma'am. And they're probably looking at documents that look something like this. So we had Anna Bauer, who does great reporting as well. She's on X at Anna Bauer. Says we're walking through each of these false invoices. Was this a check that was paid to you pursuant to a retainer agreement? No, ma'am. So that description on the check stub was false. Yes, ma'am. So they're getting into it. So it says it's a retainer. Okay, this is wild. So a retainer agreement, they're saying, I guess you didn't have, Michael Cohen, a written retainer right there, but you're billing for a retainer. And so then my next question is, do you have to have a written retainer in New York? Is there some New York law that they're violating for not having a written retainer? Trump can say, you're on retainer. I'm going to pay you to handle my crap for me and deal with it. And then I'll pay you back. He says, great. Sounds good. Does it need to be in writing in New York? Is there something illegal to that? Like, how is this a false business record? This retainer could be, I think what they're saying is that you were not ultimately retained during this month. You were not retained in 5/1 to 5/31. So we're describing something that's for a past retainer of 2017. So that's got to be it. That's the false business record, is that they're paying him for past services. Now, the argument would say that he's still on retainer, right? There's still theory being that he's still doing stuff for Trump. He is still on retainer And this payment is for 2017 and for 2016 and all of those other past services. And if you want to continue to get this retainer, okay, because listen, their framing is that all of this is to reimburse for Stormy Daniels. Our argument is no, it's not. That's all Michael Cohen's problem, okay? He came out his pocket. That's his problem. So Trump is paying him $35,000 as a retainer for this month. Now, he can use that retainer to go pay back some of his expenses. It's like if you build a house for somebody, yeah, you got to come out of pocket. So for the wood, for the concrete, for the electric, for the plumbing. And then you get paid once the money goes through and somebody actually buys the house, right? Everybody kind of gets paid the backfill a little bit, right? Or they get the mortgage. You get the point. But you come out of pocket, your cost of goods, then you sell the goods and you go back and you replenish your goods. So this is the retainer for 2017. It just happens to include, you could even say it doesn't include, but Cohen, it's enough so that Cohen can backfill his expenses. But he's still on retainer in 2017. So even that's not a false business record. So the point is they're going through all of this here. Michael Cohen gets it, check 523, 35 grand. Here's another one. Trump signed it, right? So we can see what they're talking about. Shout out to Anna Bauer, who is delivering that. So they go through all this. So October. So you didn't render any services in there, did you either? Was that also false? Yeah. And so every single, okay, this is Cohen now going through every charge. This is the kill shot. This is the big one. This is the big climactic event that we're all waiting for. Every one of those. So the October invoice, also false. Yes. And what about 37J, November? We offer this one. Was that one false too, Mr. Cohen? Yes. Was the check false? Yes. Was the stub false? Yes. And how about this one? Government 37K. This is for December. It says 725. It says, Dear Alan, he reads it again. Was that false, that invoice for December? Was that false? There was no retainer? He says, right. And so he says, yes, ma'am. And was that the last invoice you sent? He says, yes, because now I had been reimbursed. Okay, this wasn't a retainer agreement. He's saying now the total debt has been repaid. And on this check, Mr. Cohen, who signed it? Donald J. Trump. Again, a business paid legal fees, right? Trump paid legal fees to his personal lawyer. Government says, Mr. Cohen, in 2016, did you do any work for Mr. Trump or his wife, Melania? Here's my point. Was he still working? Was he doing stuff for Trump? Was he still on call? Was he still taking Trump's calls and working with him, showing up and doing stuff? Yeah, he was. He says, oh, it was minimal. One matter for Mr. Trump, summer Zervos, and something about the likeness of Mrs. Trump. There you go. Dude's on retainer. 2017, he just admitted it's not a false business record. His current retainer can pay for other things, but he was also doing work in 2017. Did you receive emails from Alan Garden? This case is so terrible. It's wild when your own witness says, yeah, I was actually doing legal work for him in 2017. So the retainer is not backdated, not illegally false, because he was on retainer at the time. Did you receive emails from Alan Garden? He says, I did, but I was doing very minimal work. Now, how many hours did you work for Trump in 2017? Okay, here's where Cohen's credibility totally gets shot. He says 10 total. So then the jury's supposed to say, well, why are they getting him $35,000 a month if he's only working 10 hours total? It's like an hour a month, 35 grand a month. He says only 10. And in 2018, as a result of Stormy Daniels going public, that's like a ridiculous number. They could probably go back and say, how many times did you appear on talk shows? More than 10 hours. Mr. Trump wanted arbitration actions to be filed against her as a result of Stormy. And so I was contacted by Eric Trump and Mr. Trump, and I worked with Larry Rosen. And did you monetize the position as personal counsel to the president? He says, yeah, I did. He was excited about it. He says, yeah, I had 5 clients. $4 million is how much money I made. Also, Squire Patton Boggs. They paid me $500,000 bifurcated. People are just throwing money at this dude just to get access, which is just a sad state of affairs for our country, isn't it? I had offices in their space in New York and DC. They wanted me on their letterhead. That's how much power the president has. Wild times. So let's take a quick pause, make sure we're not missing any good exhibits. And I pulled some other items up. We're not quite there yet, so we'll continue on. Now, prosecutor continues. Michael, did you get subpoenaed by Congress to come in and talk to them? He says, yeah, I did. I was called into Congress to talk about Trump Tower in Moscow. Did you have an attorney at the time when you got called in there? He says, yeah. Who paid for those? Trump organization did. And as part of their representation, was there any deal you had with them? They said, yeah, I was subject to a joint defense agreement. So that's how he executed it. And Mr. Cohen, did you make any false statements to Congress at some point? He says, yes, I did. And why, Mr. Cohen? Why did you make those false statements to Congress? Well, I was staying on President Trump's message that there was no Russia, Russia, Russia story. And so I went out and I just said that. And I had to lie for him. And did you continue to lie and pressure others to lie about the payoffs to Stormy and McDougal? Yes. And Michael, did you speak with President Trump? I wonder if she called him President Trump because he was president at the time. Did you speak with President Trump when he was president? Yes, through Madeleine Westerhout, who was basically an executive assistant who sat right outside the Oval. Who's on these text messages, Mr. Cohen, that I'm showing you now? He looks at it and says, well, that's me and Keith Davidson. And this joint defense agreement, when you went in to talk to Congress, who benefited from that agreement? Objection! Sidebar. They walk up, talk to Judge Mercan. He says, that objection sustained. Please proceed. Prosecutor continues saying, what was your understanding of who benefited from the joint defense agreement? Objection! Overruled. Asked it a little differently. Okay, he can't know who benefited from it, but what was your understanding of who benefited from it? Okay, very fun. Well, my understanding, says Cohen, he says Mr. Trump. He's not qualified to say who benefited from this agreement. He's not he didn't help construct it or anything. Mr. Trump benefited. Okay, thanks, Judge, for letting that come in. Government says, Mr. Cohen, did you arrange to have Miss Daniels Stormy on the Sean Hannity show in this period? Yes, but she did not go on. She went on Kimmel, but signed a statement before doing that. And did you know that that statement that she signed was false? Yes, I did. Michael, did you get an FEC complaint? Yes. And McDermott, Will, and Emery replied on my behalf. And when your lawyers replied for you, and we talked about this yesterday, when your lawyers replied, was that a false statement? He says, I don't know if it's false, but I'd say it was more misleading. And how about this statement? It says, Big Boss just approved, me responding, start writing and I will call you soon. Mr. Cohen, what was that? It says it'd be a scoop. Now the judge chimes in and says, okay, ladies and gentlemen, now, jurors, I want to tell you this. This section of testimony here is to help you assess Mr. Cohen's credibility. Now, neither the fact of the FEC investigation nor the responses constitute any evidence in this case. They're just talking about Cohen's credibility. And the government is doing what is called drawing the sting. They are getting stung first. Like let this bad information come out in our control rather than letting the Trump cross-examination slam him with this. So they're okay. So don't hold this against Trump, the fact that there's an FEC investigation. Don't hold that against Trump jurors, but let's just talk about this for Cohen. So you got an FEC complaint, right, Mr. Cohen? Yeah. The Federal Elections Committee. And did you provide that information to Jay Sekulow, who works for Trump? I did. I want to show you this exhibit. What did Jay Sekulow write to you, Mr. Cohen? He wrote, he says, client says thanks for what you do. Mr. Cohen, did you speak with David Pecker? Todd Blanche says, Your Honor, briefly, may I have a word? He talks to the prosecutor. They stand up, talk about this. Your Honor, we need to come up there. Can we come up for a sidebar? They go up to the sidebar. Prosecutor comes back. Judge says, okay, listen, jurors. Again, on this one, since we have so much irrelevant information in this case, the judge has to confirm them. This says, okay, the information, jurors, about AMI is only for you to assess the credibility of David Pecker. Now, who's, again, irrelevant to a lot of this because there's no charged conduct related to droopy Karen McDougal. Cohen says, okay, I told David Pecker that Jeff Sessions would take care of it, who now Trump is in charge. So Jeff Sessions was the short-lived attorney general. Now, that's what President Trump had told me. Trump said, my AG is just going to take care of this whole thing, which sounds insane. Trump said, I'm a dictator now, so I'll just do whatever I want, which is exactly what they want the jurors to believe. It's a perfect line, perfectly crafted for the lefty jurors on the jury. Cohen says, prosecutor to Cohen, did you file for arbitration in California about AMI and McDougal? We had a Trump Organization California lawyer file it. We served her counsel, and her lawyer was Michael Avenatti. Did Mr. Avenatti file a lawsuit for Miss Daniels? Yes, he did. President Trump was going to be required to sit for a deposition. And so the NDA was stricken. So Trump just said, I'm not sitting for a depo, just release the NDA, make this whole thing moot. That's why the NDA got dropped. And Mr. Cohen, what happened in April 2018? Cohen says, oh, it was terrible. I was raided by the FBI. I was sitting there in the Regency Hotel, and at 7 a.m., there was a ton of people in the hall. They raided my apartment. They raided my law office. They raided my bank, which had a safety deposit box I had just opened. They took my 2 phones, okay? So this guy just got a pure judicial enema, man, from our Justice Department. And they probably found so much on him to make a person flip 35 times. He'd flip on his mother. After the raid, President Trump called me and said, don't worry, I'm the U.S. president. And there's nothing to worry about. That is a call that has never happened ever. Obviously. Trump calls him, hey, Michael, just saw you got raided by the feds. I'm willing to jeopardize everything for you. And say this on a phone call. What a lunatic. I can't believe he said that in court. And the prosecutor's like, great, perfect. So Trump's a little dictator. He's going to weaponize the DOJ to protect you for orchestrating this conspiracy. Michael, have you spoken with Trump since? No. And did others reach out to you? Yes, they did. They said he has your back. Now, the prosecutor is now showing various tweets. Some of the tweets are up. They're saying, what's Trump saying, Mr. Cohen? In these tweets, he's saying, don't flip. Don't flip in the tweets. And Klasfeld had some of these tweets at Klasfeld Reports. The post from Trump say something like this. The New York Times and a third-rate reporter named Maggie Haberman, loser, known as Crooked H. Flunky, who I don't speak to and have nothing to do with, are going out of their way to destroy Michael Cohen and to use his relationship with me in hopes that he will flip. Exactly, and he did. They use non-existent sources and a drunk, drugged-up loser who hates Michael, a fine person with a wonderful family. Michael's a businessman with his own account lawyers. I've always liked and respected, but most people will flip if the government lets them out of trouble, even if it means lying and making up stories. Sorry, I don't see Michael doing that. Sorry, Trump, bad call on that one, but he did flip because they probably raided his box and found he's like, I just opened the safety deposit box. He's like, perfect. Let me put all of my secret illegal contacts in here. They'll be secure. Click. 2 days later, raided by the feds. And they go and they flip him. Of course, they have now done that. And so they take a break. We remind you to go check out Inner City Press, Matthew Russell Lee reporting. He's on Substack and his links are in our description below. We fast forward through the break and we're back. Says, let's begin. Prosecutor brings in the jury. Witnesses are back up. Prosecutor starts. Mr. Cohen, are you familiar with Robert Costello? He says, yeah, I was introduced by Jeffrey. We were both on an advisory board of Sterling National Bank. He said Costello was close with Rudy Giuliani. And what did Mr. Costello tell you about his relationship with Rudy Giuliani? He said he was very close with Rudy, says Cohen, and it could be a back channel communication to the president to make sure you are still good and still secure. And he showed me a retainer agreement, even though I was still speaking with other lawyers. It felt a little sketchy to me. Now, I didn't want what I told him to be told to Rudy and to President Trump. And are these emails with Mr. Costello? He says, yes, says Michael. And they're offering a back channel. Government says, read that for us, Mr. Cohen. Cohen says, Costello wrote, he said, you have friends in high places. Sleep well. Now, what'd you think of Costello writing about his friend speaking to his client? He said, Cohen says, it was I spyish. It was a little bit weird. I think that they were dangling a pre-pardon, he says, as long as I just got quiet. Now, they were concerned that I was going to hire another lawyer from some other boutique firm. And the government says, well, what's this? It's from Bob Costello. He had sent me a link to YouTube. And on YouTube, it's Rudy Giuliani. It was Rudy Giuliani talking about the possibility of Cohen cooperating in the Mueller probe. Cohen says, why are you sending me Rudy talking about me cooperating with Mueller? Costello said back to me, the Southern District of New York is trying to drain you until you see them as your only salvation. These left-wing journalists want you to fail. If you want more from your former boss, you should make that well known. The government says, well, what's going on here? What are all these messages coming in for you for? Cohen says it was a pressure campaign. And so I hired other lawyers and I spoke with my family and I didn't know what to do. They said, why are you hanging on to that loyalty to him? They said, my family said, we're supposed to come first. And I had to think about my kids. And so what did you decide to do, Mr. Cohen? I decided that my loyalty should be to my family and to my country. Did you plead guilty to excessive campaign contributions to Stormy Daniels, Michael? He says, yes, I did. And did you do that to influence? Objection! They go up, sidebar. Trump's talking with Emile Beauvais. Objection is sustained. They don't get to have him say to influence an election. Mr. Cohen, why did you pay Stormy Daniels for Mr. Trump's campaign? I guess to interfere with an election? Is this now the object crime? We're still asking what the object offense is here, whether it is a campaign violation at a federal level, a tax crime at a New York state level, whether it's a local New York election crime, even though this is a federal election. We don't know. And prosecutor says, and you pled guilty to a role in this, the FEC illegal corporate contribution scheme, didn't you? Yes, I did. For AMI as it related to Karen McDougal. Karen McDougal, they were going to call as a witness here, not having her anymore. The judge reminds the jurors again, the FECA violation is only to assess Cohen's credibility. And it just provides some context here. It doesn't mean Trump's guilty just because he's guilty. Cohen's guilty doesn't mean Trump's guilty. Now, did you plead guilty to tax evasion? And did you plead guilty to a false statement to a financial institution? There you go. Yeah, but those were unrelated to Mr. Trump. But that's how he got the deal. You flip on us here, or we are going to nuke you into oblivion on all of these other crimes that we have now found. So he takes one guilty plea to save his butt, and they agree with a handshake deal not to bring in a bunch of additional charges. They get him to plead in another case. This happens all the time in America. Not normally against political opponents in this country. It happens all the time. Hey, you've got like 5 priors, my friend. If you plead guilty against your co-defendant, we'll just wrap all of this up right now. And we'll say your priors, we'll bundle this up. We could charge you with these other things. We haven't even filed that indictment yet, but we're going to. So you could just, we'll settle this here, but we need you to testify against him. Yes or no? They say yes all the time, 100%. Which is why you have, a big problem if you represent both people. Now you have a conflict of interest. So they did that exactly to Cohen. It's like prosecutor 101, and he flips. So he admits it again. Yeah, I had to plead guilty to these other things. Totally unrelated to Trump. They raided everything. They raided his safety deposit box, all of his residence. They found everything, and they flipped him. After you pled guilty, Michael, did President Trump tweet something about you? And they show a tweet about don't retain Michael Cohen because he's a terrible attorney. And here, this might be that. Says, I feel very badly for Paul Manafort and his wonderful family. Justice took a 12-year-old tax case, among other things, applied tremendous pressure on him. And unlike Michael Cohen, he refused to make up stories in order to get a deal. Such respect for a brave man, unlike Michael. Right? He did break. Cohen did. And it's pretty interesting to read these tweets in hindsight. Now, Trump was the president at the time. I'm just like, gosh, he should have just cleaned house at the DOJ. Just ransack everything. You're all fired. Maybe next time. All right. So that continues. Now, did you then plead guilty to false statements about that? He says, yeah. What effect did that tweet that we just read? What effect does that have on you, Michael? He says, tweets like that give me angst and anxiety. Mr. Cohen, did you then plead guilty to false statements to Congress about Trump Tower? Yes, I did. And when were you sentenced? On December 12th. Were you sentenced 2018? He says, yes, I was. I was sentenced to 36 months. And I had to pay restitution and 2 fines. And so I self-surrendered, says Michael Cohen, on May 6, 2019. Did you go and testify to Congress before your self-surrender date? He says, yes, I did. Representative Elijah Cummings reached out to me through Lanny Davis, who's a Clinton super lawyer. Were you on TV, Mr. Cohen? He says, yes, I was. Before I went to prison, I apologized to the country. And did you provide testimony to the Office of the Special Counsel? He says, yes, I did. I admitted that my previous testimony to Congress was false. And how much time did you serve and where, Mr. Cohen? 13 months in Otisville. So 3 years goes down to 13 months. Then he goes back to home confinement after that. And did you go back to prison briefly? He says, objection, overruled. Well, I was to head up to Bronx to the GEO, but I received a call from Adam at Pearl Street. Somebody told me I needed to be there. So I asked Jeffrey K. Levine to come. And they showed me an agreement when I was there that violated the First Amendment. Objection. Judge lets it in. He says, prosecutor says, well, I'm going to ask you a few leading questions, okay, to keep us on track here. Did the agreement constrain your ability to speak? So it must be probation. So yes, the agreement said I couldn't talk about this. And yes, I was writing a book. And so in March, did you testify to the grand jury? Yes. And did you have immunity before you testified to this grand jury here? Yes, that's my understanding from my lawyer. And have you asked us to help you get your federal sentence reduced? Yes, I did. And was it your understanding that the Southern District of New York prosecutors declined to receive such a letter to reduce this? Yes. But our offer, has it influenced your testimony if we are going to reduce your penalty? Has it influenced your testimony in any way, Mr. Cohen? No. What did you do with your old phones when you didn't need them anymore? Cohen says, well, one I put in a box and another I put in a pouch. And I was FOIA-ing the Bureau of Prisons and I wanted to record the conversation. So I powered up the older cell phone. Okay, what'd you do with your cell phones after prison? Were you under any legal restriction on how you could use the phones? No. And did you give us your phones on January on January 2023? He says, yes, I did. And I had not altered my previous recording with Mr. Trump. Yeah, right. And we were getting into this yesterday. What was that recording? And I think I misstated a fact yesterday that there was no metadata for the recording. Elliot, our doc-master on locals, explained that there was in fact metadata, but we were trying to parse through the transcript because we were just presuming that there was no metadata based on the X script we were reading, but the actual transcript shows that there is. But there's still some questions about when it was copied and how it was all created. So there's a lot of questions. We're taking Michael Cohen's word for it. So he comes out and volunteers. I had not altered my previous recording with Trump. Then why'd you have to say you didn't? Have you made public statements, Mr. Cohen, that you should not have been prosecuted on tax and bank statement charges? Do you dispute that fact? Objection, overruled. Well, they told me, says Cohen, they said that they would charge my wife on the taxes since she signed them as well. And the HELOC loan, I dispute that it was material at all. But you ultimately accepted responsibility for those things, didn't you? On those other cases that he pled guilty to. I did. In fact, I'm still under supervised release. I'm still on probation. He's trying to get his probation terminated. And he's like, I'm a law-abiding citizen, so terminate my probation. And the judge is saying back to him, no, you committed perjury again, either in Tish's courtroom or when you took your guilty plea. So no. Did you testify in Tish's Trump org case? Cohen says, yeah, I was a star witness there too. These prosecutors in New York are idiots. And were you cross-examined about various statements, Mr. Cohen? Todd Blanche is standing up. He says, oh, I see Mr. Blanche is standing up. You want to approach? They go up. They have a conversation. Judge says the objection's withdrawn. He probably rephrases. Do you admit to lying to Southern District of New York judge? They had to ask this question. Did you admit to lying to Southern District of New York Judge Pauly when you took your guilty plea, Mr. Cohen? You lied to him? I did. I was given 48 hours to plead guilty or they would indict my wife from the DOJ. But you didn't lie to Judge Pauly about campaign finance, did you? No, ma'am. Are you a lawyer, Mr. Cohen? So he just admitted he lied to the judge during his plea deal. And we'll see what that judge does about that. That is insane. Are you a lawyer? This is a federal judge, by the way. This is not Judge McAfee. Thanks. Are you a lawyer? No, says Cohen. I was disbarred. And as a felon, I can't own New York City taxi medallions. And I think there were articles, he was very in the hole on that. Do you have any real estate, Mr. Cohen? He says, well, only one secondary apartment other than my residence. And what do you do now? Media and entertainment. What do you do for that? He said, well, I do a podcast called Mea Culpa, which are my initials, MC, Mea Culpa, MC, Michael Cohen. And I do another podcast with Midas, those weirdos over there. And I also wrote a book called Disloyal. What about a book called Revenge? Did you write that? He says, yeah, it's about the Southern District of New York's corrupt prosecution against me and the weaponization of the DOJ, which is absolutely true. And they came and they wrecked Cohen, right? They did flip the dude. And they flipped him hard. And I don't doubt for a minute that they were threatening his wife. We'll raid your whole stinking family, brother. You flip on Trump or it's the end of you. And he said, okay. And it's hard to blame him. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Of course, don't commit a bunch of crimes that give the DOJ leverage over you in the first place. But you can't blame Trump for that. In February 2021, Mr. Cohen, did you invite Stormy Daniels onto your Mea Culpa podcast? And did you podcast with Stormy? Yes, we podcasted all night long. I made that last part up. Yes, I did. I invited her on. Have you continued to be the recipient of negative posts by Mr. Trump? Well, I was. They show a horse-face Truth Social post again. So Stormy's on there. We'll spare our eyeballs. And Mr. Cohen, did Mr. Trump sue you? He says he did, yeah, for $500 million, but he ultimately dismissed it. Michael, do you have any regrets about your past work with Donald Trump? He says, yes, I did. I did things for him that I should not have done. I was bullying people. There were good times, but I've lost my moral compass. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. The judge says, okay, we'll break there. Jurors will break for lunch. And we'll come back. And we come back after the break. Short reminder that this is where we have Matthew Russell Lee reporting for us. And so be sure to check his workout at Inner City Press on the X platform. And we now break for lunch. And so we'll pause there. We'll end this segment here. And then we'll come back for cross-examination in our next segment. But don't you go anywhere because this is live. We're just recording these as two separate segments so that people who want to jump into the cross only can jump right into the cross if they want to skip all that other stuff, which is why we're doing that this way today. All right, so now let's get started here, cross-examination. Michael Cohen crushed during cross-examination. We have defense attorney Todd Blanche, who is going to be leading this. We had a full morning of Cohen on direct exam, in many ways, in my opinion, exonerating Trump, saying that Cohen was purview to a lot less than he let on, and that the evidence here that actually matches the allegation of a false business record is not false at all. He was still doing legal work for Trump in 2017, pursuant to legal services. Even though they didn't have an actual retainer written, he was still working for him. So all that is done. Todd Blanche comes out. We're going to go back into trial testimony, courtesy of Inner City Press, Matthew Russell Lee reporting, before we come back and hear from Trump and ask ourselves some questions now that the case is basically over. We also know that there will not be any other witnesses other than Michael Cohen from the government. So this might be the end of it. And the question is it going to be enough to secure a conviction? I think the answer is going to be no, but we'll see. We're back from lunch. Todd Blanche will be doing the cross. Judge Mercan says, Mr. Blanche, your witness. Trump's attorney stands up, grabs his notepad, walks over to the podium, sets it down. Says, Mr. Cohen, we've never met, but you know who I am, don't you? He says, yes. In fact, you called me a little shit on TikTok, didn't you? Well, that sounds like something I would say. Approach right now, says the judge. Todd Blanche says, fine, walks back up to the judge's bench, and we're back. Todd says to Michael, now you've commented about jury selection here, haven't you, Mr. Cohen? Objection! Sustained! Todd continues. Mr. Cohen, you said on TikTok that Mr. Pecker corroborated your story. Didn't you say that? And so what does that mean? You have been observing this trial. You know what Mr. Pecker testified to because you said on TikTok that he corroborates your story. So how'd you know about that? Cohen says, no, I wasn't watching. I wasn't paying attention. Someone called me and told me what Pecker said. So I wasn't paying attention. I'm not paying attention to this trial at all. No. But you've been following it on CNN and MSNBC, haven't you, Michael? Well, I watch, for example, he says, I'm very interested in the protests about Israel, so I care about Israel. So I see some of it, yeah. Now, isn't it true, Michael, that you called President Trump a dictator douchebag? Is that something you said here? Cohen says, yeah. Sounds something like I'd say that, yeah. And Lanny Davis, who's your lawyer, who's a Hillary psycho lawyer, do you recall him saying Line prosecutors to report to the top. Objection sustained. Line prosecutors to report to the top. So people like Susan are reporting to Bragg. Sustained. Michael, do you remember the prosecutors being frustrated that you leaked to the press? He says, no. Frustrated with me? No. I want you to take a look at this email. You see that now? He says, yeah, from that document, yes, I can see it. In February 2021, Mr. Cohen, you were going on TV and you were talking about the investigation, weren't you? He says, well, I go on TV often, so I don't remember when that was. But didn't you promise your attorney that you'd stop doing TV? Objection sustained, right? Attorney-client privilege, communications. Okay. Now, Mr. Cohen, I want you to look at this email. He says, well, it's not on my screen. It disappeared from my screen. Where is it? I can't see it. They get it back on the screen. Now, your lawyer told a member of the DA's office, objection sustained. Mr. Cohen, you'd agree that you continue to talk to the press about this case, right? It sounds correct. I don't want it to sound correct. Is it correct? It is. I am talking to the press. On February 23rd, the DA's office, you gave the prosecutors 2 phones and Jeremy Rosenberg. Do you remember that? Yes, maybe 2 Jeremy Rosenberg. And Michael, do you remember telling Don Lemon about giving your phones to the DA? And then you told them that they already had the info? He says, I don't recall either way. It's weird. He doesn't remember anything all of a sudden. Like a lot of I don't recalls here. Here's another one. I don't recall. I don't remember. You see the pattern starting all of a sudden. You get him on cross. Another one. I don't remember. Here it comes. Always happens on cross. He remembers everything. He's like, 2016, Trump told me he rigged the election. Hey, Michael, do you remember what you did last week? No, I don't remember anything. Sorry. Happens every time. So, do you remember telling Don Lemon, I don't recall either way? Well, why don't you look at this, Michael? He says, oh gosh, I'd love to. Let me put on my reading glasses now. He's doing this routine too. Puts on his reading glasses. I'm so dumb now. I don't recall. I don't recall. I can't remember. So 6 days after the grand jury, once again, the DA's office was frustrated that you were continuing to talk on TV, right? You can see that now clearly from this document. No, I don't recall. You don't recall? You told them you'd do no more TV until after the indictment, right? I don't remember. You testified in detail, Michael, about calls with President Trump in 2016, but now you can't remember things from 2023? Are you dumb? Is that your testimony today? Well, I can't remember these conversations with Lanny Davis. I don't know about this stuff. Well, how about last March? You remember a year ago, Michael? They told you to stop doing TV. You remember that? And you don't remember Manhattan DA's office, these people sitting right here, telling you that you were unwittingly helping President Trump by going on TV. You don't remember that. I don't remember, of course. You were called, Michael, literally down to the DA's office as a possible rebuttal of Costello's testimony. Is that right? He said, well, I had spoken with them. And so they'd tell me, they'd say, it's probably better off if you don't speak out about this. But he says, but I have a First Amendment right to speak. And I love my TikTok, so you have to pry it out of my cold, dead fingers. How many times have they told you to stop talking? He says, I don't recall. Probably, I don't know, less than 5, though. But you haven't stopped, have you? No, I haven't. In fact, you do 4 podcasts a week for this. He's like, yeah, I do. Hundreds since this case has been charged. You've done that. He says, well, I haven't done the math on it. He says, well, we can. Hundreds. Okay, that's how many you've done. We've done it. Would you agree? Yeah. You're pretty active on X too, aren't you there, Michael? Yes. And you do a nightly TikTok, don't you? He says, yes, I can't sleep. I like to hang out with my TikTokers. Now, one of the reasons that you do TikTok is to make money. Isn't that right, Michael? He says money is made. I mean, I do make some money on it. And you speak about Mr. Trump every single day. He says, well, I do it 6 days a week. So 6 days a week. Okay, but on your beatdown cast, Michael, on March 19th, didn't you display a binder on your show? And don't you regularly comment on your podcast that you want President Trump in jail? Don't you say that? You want him in jail. He says, yes, I would like to see that. Sure, I'd like to see him in jail. And you sell a t-shirt depicting President Trump in an orange jumpsuit behind bars. You're selling that shirt, aren't you? We've seen here many times. He says, yeah, that's one item. I have many of them. They say, all right, Your Honor, we offer this into evidence. It's a $32 shirt with President Trump in jail. This is yours, right, Michael? He says, yeah. And there's a coffee cup here that says, send him to the big house, not the White House. Right? That's how these people, there's a bunch of Michael Cohen fans. This is happening right now. Michael Cohen fans who think he's a hero of America. He's like their role model for who they want to be in their life. Sitting around with a Michael Cohen mug, slurping it. Send Trump to the big house, not the White House. That's their side. Weird people. So they asked the question, objection sustained. Defense attorney Todd Blanche says, now, obviously, you changed your view of President Trump in August 2018, didn't you? He says, yeah, I did. I did when I spoke on George Stephanopoulos. I changed. But you still live in a building with Trump's name on it, don't you? He says, yeah. And you rent out an apartment you own in the Trump building for what, $15,000 a month? He says, yeah, I rent it to an embassy. And you made millions in taxi medallions, didn't you? I did. And was President Trump happy with your results? He was. And so you helped the president, you helped present the Trump children to the media. You did that, right? I did. And you've read The Art of the Deal twice, haven't you? Yes, an excellent book. He says it's a masterpiece. And you saw yourself in President Trump, didn't you? I thought I'm innovative and he's innovative, so yeah. In fact, you were obsessed with President Trump, weren't you? Cohen says, I was in the cult of Donald Trump. And what you said in 2015, it was the truth, wasn't it? Well, it was how I felt. And in 2016, you spoke in Cleveland for President Trump, didn't you? He says, yeah, I did at a church. You also spoke to Vanity Fair, and you said you were the one who protected the president. You're the one who stopped the leaks. You said that you would take a bullet for him, didn't you, Michael? Yes, I did. You said that you were offered $10 million to write a tell-all, but you wouldn't even do it for $10 million. I would not. And during the investigation, you said you didn't see the Trump children. Not that I couldn't, but I just didn't see them. So then you lied in February 2017 to Congress. Then you got raided. After you got raided, did you say, boss, I miss you so much? Did you say that? I don't recall saying that. And you remember, Michael, when you decided to cooperate with the government? You remember when that happened? No, I don't. At the first meeting with the government, you gave a reason why you were going to meet with them, right? You said that your life was turned upside down in the Steele dossier. You said, I've never even been to Prague. And what you testified to, it was a lie, wasn't it? He says it was not accurate. He says, well, was it a lie? I wouldn't call it that. So when you didn't testify truthfully, how many things did you lie about? I don't know. And the Steele dossier makes an appearance back here, which is Hillary Clinton's fake story, which again was orchestrated by the lawyers for Hillary. And Lanny Davis is not far from those people. So Lanny Davis has now brought in Michael Cohen into the fold. So what you testified to, it was a lie. It was not accurate, but it was a lie. Well, I wouldn't call it that. So when you didn't testify truthfully, how many things did you lie about? I don't know. You told them that when you heard of Access Hollywood tape, you were in London at a restaurant called Lulu's, right? Yeah. But then you told them that you didn't speak with the president, right? It says I might have. Now, don't read that. Tell me, speak about it. So in 2018, 2 years after Access Hollywood tape came out, the grab him by the purse tape, you said that you didn't know if you spoke with President Trump, right? But yesterday, 8 years out, you said you have a specific memory of President Trump being there? He says, yeah, I remember. And so you pled guilty twice, right? And then you spoke to Congress in February 2019, and you testified completely differently than what you said before, didn't you? Yes. And you were supposed to self-surrender in March 2019, but that also got delayed in May, and you testified later. And Todd says, Blanche, the defense attorney, says, did Anthony Scaramucci visit you while you were in prison in Otisville? He says, yeah, he did. They pause for a break. Now we're back. Judge reminds the jurors, says, reminder that tomorrow on Wednesday, we are off. We will have our show here, still be here live, so don't forget to subscribe wherever you're watching. We don't meet this Friday either. And Thursday will only go to 4 p.m. Phew, it's a light week, huh? Mr. Blanche says to Cohen, now you've been in Otisville 3 months. You'd already been in there. And you asked the New York prosecutors why you should meet with them. He says, well, I asked. Yeah, I asked. So look at these notes. It says, here's the note. It says, you asked? You asked? He says, the line says, why are you here? He says, okay, 2 lines above that. From December to August, under Rule 35, your sentence can be amended if there's cooperation. Okay, so you're going to prison for a while because you're now, the feds flipped you. But now you reach out to Manhattan and you say, oh, Rule 35, if I cooperate, maybe they can give me a lighter deal. He says, well, no, well, Judge Pauly put that in his order too. And so your lawyer asked Manhattan, these prosecutors seated at that table right there, asked if they would help write a Rule 35 motion. You were there when that happened? He says, I believe so. And they didn't commit. And then in December, Roger Adler filed that motion for you, right? Yeah, based on cooperation. Okay, so you went and cooperated with them, and then you got them to help you get out early. But when you submitted that, the federal judge denied your motion, didn't they? Yeah, he did. But after you got out with COVID, you tried again. You tried with disloyal and mea culpa. You called Trump a boorish cartoon misogynist. Did you do that? So it sounds like something I would say. And you also called President Trump a Cheetos-dusted cartoon villain. Is that right? Yes. And in fact, Michael, you said, I effing want to see him locked up. He says, yeah, sounds like my language on mea culpa. Yeah, I got a potty mouth. I want you to listen to it, but not the jury. So they play it to him. He's like, effing A, I want to effing want to see Trump locked up. Jury doesn't hear this yet. Prosecutor stands up. Your Honor, may we approach for a moment? He says, yes, please come up here. Come talk to me. I hate this guy. They do. They're back. Defense attorney Blanche says, all right, Michael, you said President Trump should be in handcuffs, didn't you? Yeah. And you made money off that podcast, didn't you? Yeah, I did. So you're here. You're motivated by a desire for fame, aren't you? No, I'm not. You made $2 million from your disloyal book. Oh my gosh, man, that TDS money's good money. Golly. $2 million from a crap book? Wow. Okay, yes, I made $2 million. Whoo! In January 2021, you thanked the DA's team for continuing their case, right? I did. And you started meeting with Mark Pomerantz? Yeah, the prosecutor, by Zoom. The same Mark Pomerantz who's now invoking the fifth when they're trying to find out where his cell phones and emails went. Yeah, I've been meeting with Mark Pomerantz for a long time. Prosecutor, Your Honor, can we talk about this, please? I don't want to talk about this. Shut up, sidebar. They come up. Todd Blanche says, when they're back, Mr. Cohen, now you wanted the DA's office to say that you were helping. Didn't you want them to say you were helping? I would say so, yeah. And until November 2021, you were still under home confinement, weren't you? I was allowed to go out 3 hours a day in Manhattan, but I had an ankle bracelet on and then I had phone that was tracking me. And so you were doing your Mea Culpa podcast from your house, right? And then you were going on TV. So in January, for example, 2021, you went on MSNBC's show, Ali Velshi. Yeah. And you went on Joy Reid. Yeah. I've appeared on their shows frequently. And have you met Alvin Bragg, Michael? No. And how much did you make from your book, Revenge? $400,000, man. $2.5 million for this dude. And you call yourself a fixer, right? Yes. Are you fixing things that you broke? Interesting question. No. And the judge cuts him off. This might be a good place to stop. And so there's more. We're not quite done yet. Jury sounds like it leaves, and the jury is excused. Judge Mercan asked Todd Blanche, Mr. Blanche, can you finish your cross-examination of this witness by the end of the day on Thursday? He says, yes, I can. Our expert witness, we'd like to know about the charge. Like, what is the charge to the jury going to be? And then we'll know if we even have witnesses to come out. And that is the end of the day. And I think that's probably for a different thread. So Inner City Press reporting. Inner City Press is such a monster, a beast mode of reporting in a good way. Those are all loving terms. That he's done. He's like, okay, I'm done with this trial. I'm just going to go talk about Senator Menendez next. He's out of control, this guy. All right, so make sure you're following him at Inner City Press for the excellent and amazing reporting. Some of his links are here. We also have some of his links in our description below. And of course, that is another spicy day. And so Trump came out after this was over and he spoke about this. Benny Johnson clipped this one right after the fact. Let's hear what Trump said, and then we'll have some final thoughts to parse through. Here is the president.
Well, thank you very much. As you know, I'm under a gag order, so I can't really answer those very simple questions that you're asking. I'm under a gag order. Nobody's actually seen anything like it. But we talk about subjects we're allowed to talk about. Would love to not be in the gag order. I'm the Republican nominee for president. I'm leading in every poll, and I have a gag order. So I think it's totally unconstitutional, and we'll test that. This will be tested, because this should never happen to another candidate or another person, what's happening here. And today we had a very good day in court. You see what's happening. And you'll have to report it because I can't talk about it too much. But I think it was a very, very good day. The voters are getting a John McLaughlin, probably number one poll number with Fabrizio. John McLaughlin is probably the number one pollster. And voters are getting it. And they don't like the idea that the courts are deciding the presidential election. Well, so far, my numbers were leading by a lot, as you know, against crooked Joe Biden.
Swing states
Charlie
numbers looking
Herter, a great person, great reporter. The problem for Democrats is that the extensive polling now shows that the voters see through their scam and don't like what's going on. Watching 100,000 enthusiastic people gather along the boardwalk in New Jersey Beach this Saturday, as you probably saw, to support former President Trump on Saturday evening gives you some idea how terrified Democrats are of Trump. Well, I'm not saying it, that he's saying it. I don't think they're terrified of anything. They're fascists.
That's right. They are fascists. So Trump out there with his docs, and he's going to go on a litany there. And so we'll send you over to Benny Johnson to watch the remainder of that. But some final parting thoughts. They're telling us that this is the end of the government's case. So their case in chief will be over. And the question is, what is Trump going to do in response to that? I think we had a little bit of an idea there at the end. Todd Blanche was asking, what is the charge going to be to the jury? What are the instructions? What are the rules? We've now heard the evidence, but what are the rules that we apply to the evidence? We still don't really know what it is. And I think today Michael Cohen was their climactic witness. Back in the first segment when they were doing cross or direct, they were walking through all of these different entries saying that he was not actually doing legal work or something, even though he admitted that he was. So I don't exactly know what's false, and we'll see what the jury instructions say, but they are not bringing in Weisselberg, is my understanding, unless something changes between now and Thursday when we're back. But the question would be, why is that? And a lot of people on the left are a little bit shocked. They're wondering why this is. I think the answer is because Weisselberg would exonerate Trump. That's why, because there's no crime here. So they need a missing gap, which in my opinion is reasonable doubt, so the jurors can make the connection between Cohen and Trump. To say that Trump, I guess, caused that entry to say retainer, that's the thesis here, or legal expense. I think the new thing today was legal retainer is the hinge point. But then there needs to be the object offense. What is this all meant to do? It's Michael Cohen's word that this was to do something for an election. There's a lot of other plausible explanations for why Trump might not want a degenerate porn star screaming about an affair that either happened or not, right? Even if it didn't happen, you still don't want them doing that. So you pay to make that not happen. Another question that came up yesterday was about, I think the question was asking about a judgment notwithstanding a verdict, or whether the judge could still find Trump guilty if the jury hangs, or if the jury acquits him. Can the judge still take it away and find him guilty? And the answer to that is no. There is a possibility of a closely related concept that is not a judgment withstanding the verdict, which we talk about in civil law, which would be a directed verdict, which is something that I'm sure at the conclusion of the government's case, we'll hear from Todd Blanche and the defense. They'll come out and say they failed to even hit the elements of the offenses here, and there's no possible way that a jury could find him guilty based on the evidence presented here. It's like you need 4 wheels to have a car, but they haven't given us 4 wheels. They've only given us 3 wheels. And so the jury cannot call that a car because they don't have 4 wheels, and they have to have 4 wheels to call it a car. Those are the rules. So can there be a directed verdict? Trump's team, of course, will come out and they'll make that argument, and the judge will deny that clearly. But I think if he was a respectable person and this was an actual court of law, he would say this case is terrible. And we don't even know what the object offense is still today. I think they'll probably tell us that in the charge and during closing. So we'll see what that looks like. And then next question, if Trump does bring witnesses in, who might they be? Would it be a Trump organization employee? I thought might be helpful. They can come out and say, this is a matter standard course. This is how we do things. Trump didn't have any involvement in what this check said, or what this invoice said, or what this ledger entry said. We all did that. And it's all true. It's all part of the ordinary routine. And we have these checks and balances, and we can prove it. And you proved it for us, essentially. So there's no intent from Trump to falsify the business record in any way. He wanted to have a deal done. That's all true. But there is no false business record, and he never had any intent to cause any falsification of anything. So somebody to come out and just say, yeah, he was doing legal work, and this covers that, and it's all by standard conduct, standard operating procedure. Same thing with an expert witness. I'm thinking this might be somebody come in to talk about financial crimes and financial transactions, right? A financial crimes expert. When you go investigate these crimes for the government, what do you do? What do they have you do? What do they say? And you're looking for these things. Is this something that you would identify as a crime? No, absolutely not. This is a standard thing. Kind of talk through that whole thing. That might be useful. And then, of course, as we saw, they're going to have a lot of time to prep for the second portion of this cross-exam. And so Todd Blanche will have an opportunity to parse through all of Cohen's direct for the next 2 days, or next 24 hours at least, and then come back on Thursday fresh and ready to just hit it. And I'm sure they'll be ready to go. And we'll be back here, of course, not only on Wednesday, but also on Thursday to see where this cross-examination picks back up. And we'd love to have you join us when we start back up again. So thank you for subscribing, my friends. Thank you for inviting a friend or family member to come over and join us so that they can also see what's happening in these trials. It is a historic journey that we're on, and we don't want them to miss out on it. So thanks for inviting them over. Thanks for also checking out some of the links in our description below. We've got an awesome members-only community. We do live members-only streams in the mornings. And so we'd love to have you come and join us, watchingthewatchers.locals.com or on YouTube. Become a member. We'll see you there. We also stream on Saturdays. Would love to have you join us, whether it's there or back here. We'll see you on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. Now it is time to hear from you. We had 2 good segments. Michael Cohen, I think, is just a terrible witness, floundering all over the place, basically proving the defense case that these were actual regular business records with no falsity at all. But now, my friends, let's see what you have to say about this. Of course, we'll check in with our friends at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And then we're going over there for our members only after party. And so we'd love to see you join us. We got some nice donos in the house. We got some new supporters coming in. Hey, what's up? Welcome aboard. Confused Abyssinian cat. Well, a lot of cats are confused. I don't think it's specific to that. Maybe they're more confused than cats in general. They're curious. Cats are curious. It's kind of confused, right? What's up? Good to have you as a supporter. Kevin H. in the house as our newest supporter, along with Mary R. Welcome aboard, Mary. Very nice to have you. And look who it is. It's Tanya Karras. What's up, Tanya? Oh, we missed you this morning. Happy Taco Tuesday. We usually celebrate Taco Tuesdays in the mornings, but we missed Tanya this morning. Sorry I missed this morning. It is happy 30-year anniversary for my husband, Mike, and I today. Steak dinner on the town tonight. Yeah, we'll save those. Maybe have some steak tacos left over next week. But this is a tremendous post. Thank you, Tanya, for sharing that with us. Happy 30-year anniversary to you and your husband, Mike. Mike and Tanya going out on the town for steaks. What a beautiful, beautiful comment. Happy 30 years, man. How do you guys do it? You have to enlighten all of us. Thank you, Tanya, for that. Happy Taco Tuesday to you, and enjoy the steaks. Happy anniversary. Great comment. What's up, Dee Dee? Is our new supporter. Welcome aboard, Dee Dee. Glad to have you. We'll see you on the Membo only streams. We got Tony Hey Munkets. Hey, it's the Munkets. Bringing in 10 new Membos. Grumpy Deplorables here. We got Pervase is here. Da Animal Crackers here. FSU Mike. What's up? BPP. Starlet S. DW. We got Danny P. Bruce D. And Kate S. All in the house. Gifted Membos courtesy of Tony Hey Munkets. Bringing Membos in. What's up, Tara R? Says Trump needs more of the outward support from the reps. I think that would be good to see. I think it's nice to see that solidarity there today. It helps to show, well, solidarity. I think that was a good showing today. 11 months, Tara. Amazing. A baby and then some. Thanks for being here. We got Hold My Halo 5 months as a membo. Says class action suit against the mainstream media and the other liars now. I know it'd be fun if we could do something to correct the record with these goons who control the airwaves, but they have the First Amendment. They would just say it's free speech. But I understand the sentiment. Hold My Halo. They are pieces of work. Thanks for being a membo and for being here. What's up? Hey, Tim A is here. Says recovering from surgery and what an opportunity. Thanks for going through this. Time well spent. Thank you, Tim A. What a nice comment. And hopefully the recovery is going well. Surgery is never fun, but hopefully you are on the mend and you're going to be even better afterwards. And so thanks for joining us. Thanks for the nice dono, and hopefully you get well soon. We got this one from Patricia. What's up, Patricia M? New membo in the house. Very nice to have you, Patricia. Welcome aboard. Sheila P's bringing in 5 new membos. Look at who's coming in. Sea Travel, W. McMaster. We got Robert M, Jeffrey J, Jesse W, and shout outs to Terry and Piper Lynn, all shouting out Sheila P for bringing in 5 new membos. NY on locals says, since Biden DOJ has destroyed the attorney-client privilege, all more fitting that Dan Goldman be tried in the 1st District along with other co-conspirators. I would show up ringside for that trial. We'll add Dan Goldman to the RICO list. Yeah. Hey, good to see you, NY. Guava Ball in the house says, if Johnson is at the courthouse, Trump then made a deal with the deep state and it's a guarantee we will get a Rhino VP candidate. Maybe. That might be a foregone conclusion anyways. I mean, who knows who we're going to get. But yeah, it could be true anyways. I mean, they're throwing around Rubio, and others. So who knows? Good to see you, Guava Ball. Nice comment. We got Clinton G, membo for 4 months. Says Ashley Biden confirmed it was her diary. We read the letter this morning. We read through that on our members only stream this morning, Clinton. You're a membo. So if you missed that this morning, we covered it. And it was an interesting letter, for sure. It was an interesting letter. And I have some empathy for the Biden kids because they're Biden's kids and they were abused as kids. I'm sure of it. So, you have some empathy for them, but it's newsworthy. It's got to, we got to get to the, do we have a man who showers with his daughter in the White House right now? I don't know. It seems like it. Seems like we do. We got this one from Catherine Rex, bringing in 5 new membos. What's up, Catherine Rex? Linda H is a membo. Frezio is a membo. We got Dustin DeGraffin Reed is coming in. D is here. Bill D. We got Janine S. Don Goff. Laura's bringing membos in. And thank you to Catherine Rex for bringing in 5 new membos. Hey, Linda H. Membo for 8 months. One more until a baby. Says, wow, 8 months. We've got a present, a bumblebee, a fire, a lucky 4-leaf clover. And shout out to Linda. 8 months. One more month. Tell a baby. Good to have you, Linda. Thanks for being here for 8 months. Bodie's on a local says, sounds to me like Cohen paid Stormy, then falsely charged Trump to get his money back. Yeah. Yeah, I think that sounds right. It seems like Cohen needed to pocket a couple $100,000. He could help facilitate a fake claim, come in as the hero, get paid for it. You engineer the problem, deliver the solution, get paid. He saw McDougal do it. What's up, Knox says, happy Taco Tuesday, all. If Michael Cohen is the kill shot in this video, we all need our money back. Yuck. I know. It's just very terrible visuals. I'm trying to spare us the Cohen visual there, Knox. But I understand what you're saying, yeah. Good to see you, Knox. Yeah, we need a... It's good to see you, Knox. Hey, NY says, I have had lawyers on retainer, and I had been charged a nominal fee a month for just keeping the attorney. I think they are conflating the meaning retainer. Do you have to actually be doing work actively? No, that's another great point. Yeah, from NY, it's like, no, you're ready to go. Like, if we need you to do something, you're there on retainer. You're our guy if we need you, but we don't need you. So thanks for being available. Trump's the president now. He has a lot less personal business to attend to. He has a federal government to help with that. So you don't need to do a bunch of work for him now. It's 2017, but you're still on retainer and you're still the president's lawyer. So we're still paying you a high amount. NY, good to see you. Great comment. Lenny Malley says, don't forget to smash that like button, my friends. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share all social media platforms, and God bless you all. Thank you, Lenny, for the great reminder. Sometimes I fail to do that. Hey, Cowboy Rob says, do you agree, Rob, that we are overlawed, not over police? I think that there's just too many laws on the books. 100%. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Laws, regulations, you can indict anybody for anything. There's all sorts of things you have to go through. It's madness. It's the bureaucratic state. And there's a lot less community solutions to these things. You know, like societies, like do you have to be charged with a ticket for jaywalking? Really? Like, we need a whole court system and people handing out speeding tickets all day to stop people from speeding. Okay. Liberium. What's up in the house? Good to have you, Liberium. Thanks for being here. Lady Ice says, isn't an valid when you submit it and created? Many places send invoices months after dates of services rendered or goods received. It's not like Cohen wasn't advising Trump daily during this time. And in New York, you don't need a written retainer. Yeah. I think that's right. He was still working for him, still around. So he was on retainer. Exactly right. Lady Ice says, if anything, it would be a crime. It would be like saying you paid for something, but you had no actual services paid or good paid well above market value, kind of like Hunter being paid for a job never even showed up for, had any expertise for at all, or being $500,000, selling his paintings for $500,000 as a mediocre new artist with his mucus COVID paintings. B. Torn says, judicial activism and lawfare will end when we have different types of justice back and other things improve. Knox is here, says, okay, so we have a lawyer who violates attorney-client privilege and a bimbo who violates an NDA. These are the heroes of this hot mess. Other countries must be rolling on the floor laughing. Yeah, these are the Democrat heroes. You got guys like Lawrence Matthews or whatever his name is. Is that his name? Christopher, I don't know what his name is. On whatever show, MSNBC, they love these people. Like, gosh, they're going to finally expose all the corruption. Oh my gosh. Buying Cohen's merch. They're buying Michael Cohen merch. Wild. Cowboy Rob says, can't Trump sue him for using his likeness on a cup or t-shirt? No, I'd say that's probably fair use and it's an artist interpretation and Trump's a public figure. but I like where your head's at. John Smith, what's up? New supporter over on the YouTubes. Welcome aboard, John. Thanks for becoming a membo. We'll see you on the membo streams. We got Sheila P. Says, amazing. He can't tell them what is the crime. We have an idea. We don't know what the object offense is, what the underlying crime is, but yeah, it's very difficult to find any real evidence of what it is. We'll see if they get there. Retread Medic in the house. Thank you, Retread Medic. Thank you for the nice dono. Over on Locals. Great to have you. Welcome aboard. Looks like a new name, new membo. Welcome in. We got Salty. Says, Rob, Trump just needs one juror to stand the truth. I know. It's juror number 2. And I think he checks X and True Social, juror number 2. So shout out to juror number 2. Hopefully he delivers. We've got this one from Be Controversial. Says, so basically to this day, Cohen never stopped using Trump to gain fame and fortune. He's getting a ton of money, man. $2 million for his little demented book. Sheesh, no wonder they all write him. Crazy. Knox is here shouting out Tanya Karras. Happy anniversary, Tanya. Knox, thanks for saying happy anniversary to her. I think it's a nice comment. Hey, we got even more of these. The Rubos. What's up? Hallelujah, the Rubos at rubossaltshop.com. This is my plug, not theirs. Wishing you and your husband a very happy anniversary. Here's to the next 30. And you know, that's a good warm wish because the Rubos, we just celebrated one of your anniversaries, right? The Rubos, I thought we just celebrated one. Like a good one. It's like, oh my goodness. They know what they're doing over there. So, man, all the love in the air. Gosh, it's just great. It's inspiring. Maybe I'll find that too. DC Metro says, great content as always. Good to see you, DC Metro. Thank you for joining and for being a membo and for sending in a very nice dono. Grateful to have you. And hopefully we see you back here tomorrow. We got this one from Just Rhonda. Says, I feel like I need to show what tahine looks like. We were talking about watermelon on our members only stream this morning. Some other people mentioned salt on there. Then I also heard about lemon on your watermelon to kind of give it a little zing to it. And then someone else recommended tahine. So I feel like I needed to show what tahine looks like. Sprinkle it on watermelon, fresh pineapple, mango, peaches. Use a little squeeze of lime and juice too. Too good not to try. It just looks great. I've never even heard of it. Although I think I've seen it on some candies from Mexico, right? Is that what they put on the candies in Mexico? Yeah, interesting. Tahine in the house. All right, we got a new recommendation. Good to see you. 32 years for the Rubos? Amazing. Another 32. Amazing. And Londo's got a 49 coming. Just wild. 30 years. That's crazy. Woo. Jennifer, what's up? Bobby B's coming in. Jennifer's bringing in 10 new membos. Carl's K. Tuxie's here. Jeremiah D. Bob D. We got Janae R. Space Cakes. What's up? Brad W. Ken D. Ginger LP. We got Michael Manson. And we got RT, all thanking Jennifer for bringing in the newest of membos. Thank you, Jennifer. Super grateful for that. And thanks for being here. Hey, what's up, Catherine Rex? I made it through without medication knocking me out. Well, good, Catherine. Yesterday, for those of you just joining us, Catherine was saying, I fell asleep during your show yesterday, Rob. I was like, sorry about that. I'll try to pick up the energy levels here today. Hopefully it worked. Sounds like it did. Great coverage as always, Rob. Hugs to you and the Watcher fam. Glad you're doing well, Catherine. So hopefully the medication, maybe you don't need it so much. Your body's healing and you are recovering rapidly. And you'll be back on those yachts in no time, Catherine. What's up? Lever Action says, hey, Rob, first time on Locals. Yeah. What's up, Lever Action? Good to see you. Thanks for jumping in the chat. You know, it's kind of nerve-wracking to join a new community and jump in the chat. It's like, who are all these strange people? It's like your first day of school. But not for Lever Action. Bold, brave. Welcome. We're glad you're here. You're in the right spot. Hey, Barbara N. Love watching you and how you explain it all. Barbara, thank you for saying that. Super nice of you. 2 months as a membo. First month's the hardest. It gets easier from there. And we're glad to have you. Hopefully we see you back here as we carry this on and have a beautiful night. We got this one from Words Mean Things. Says, yes, I lied then, and that time too, and that one, and the other one. But I'm a reliable star witness, honest, and this time I'm telling the truth. Trust me. I'm Michael Cohen. What's up, Words? Thank you for that one. Dolphin Fan is the man, bringing in 10 new membos into the house. We've got Carol C., Anon Emas. We've got Matthew T., Scott M., Stephen B., Mary Me, Mary D, Randy H, Mimo, Patriot Chick is here, Jason B, and Old Drill Sergeant, all thanking Dolphin Fan is the man for bringing in new membos. Thank you, Dolphin. We got LaDonna says, Cohen testified yesterday that he and Trump agreed at $375 per year. Doesn't that explain the payments? Yeah, it's a great comment. Yeah, plus bonuses and the other things. Yeah, so you could just say it's just regular legal payments. It's not anything to do with Stormy at all. The fact that he used a portion of that 35 grand to go reimburse Stormy, that's his prerogative. But that was never a part of any deal for Trump. But yeah, that supports the fact, the idea that this is not a false business record. It's a legit business record. It's just, he's paying a Cohen is the general contractor. Trump is paying the general, and then he's subbing out his solutions. So he takes his payment and then subs it out. So Trump is not paying and manipulating the payments or falsifying anything. He's paying his lawyer. The lawyer is then contracting out with the plumber, the electrician, the concrete guy, and all the things. Good to see you, LaDonna. Hey, Sean M says, would the state of New York still have a case if the expert witness was a little girl from Billing who put the Donald Trump stamp on approved checks to the trusted lawyer for Trump, Michael Cohen? Good question. I don't know. New York's a strange place. I don't know what they would do with that, but you're saying that she just takes like the refrigerator stamps and puts them on the checks and says, here you go. That's acceptable. Pay that one because you have some hall monitor child or something. I don't know. You'd think that a CFO and a lawyer would be able to handle that for you, but apparently not. What's up? F the Magician says, here's the new definition of democracy. It is what any form of government where the Democrats are in charge. That's democracy. Well, what does that mean? It means we are in charge. Well, do we get elections anymore? No. Well, kind of. Like, we'll let you vote, but no, you don't get elections. Oh, okay. You'll be just like Ukraine, and you'll like it. You'll be a democracy too. Oh, okay, great. Just like Ukraine. It'll be just like another democracy over there. All right, my friends. Now, let's see who is joining us on X before we wrap it up on the day and go on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Who is joining us on the X platform? We got Fred Pedamontes over there. Says, how about these names? Litigious James, Scammy Willis, Slack Smith, Alvin Dragg, Michael Cohen, and Horny Daniels. Oh gosh, from Fred Pedamonte. Yeah, those are pretty good names, actually. They're all pretty good. I got to say, they're all pretty good. Michael Chosen, like he's going to be the AG. James Pepper says, Blinken went to Ukraine to play the guitar. Raven Madness says, Stormy Daniels wore a bulletproof vest. What a lunatic. All right. Yeah, okay. So, Salty Sarge says, the Cohen raid must have produced too much info. He loves the record button too much. They probably got everybody. I think they found a bunch of stuff. Hey, what's up? We got some good comments. Pam BOC, thank you for doing this. Charles D, what's up? Thank you for that. Egregious says $34,000 for 10 days work, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt from Egregious. USA Patriots over there. B Torns over there. And we got some great friends over on X. Of course, you can follow us over there. Follow other watchers in the wild on the X platform at Rob Govea ESQ. If you want to connect with other people out there in the wild. But my friends, that is going to be it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com to hang out for our members only after party. If you're a member on Locals, that's where you'll find us. We'd love to have you come join us. If you haven't signed up already, consider it. We'll have some fun. We also have our website, robertgovea.com, which is where we have our PDFs, our show reports, our merch store, our show calendar. So check all of those things out. And then if you're feeling like you want to meet up with some other watchers at Trump Hotel this year, election season, you know where to go RSVP for that one. Read the details. If you absolutely can come, check it out, watcherlodge.com, RSVP, and we'll see you there in Vegas. But my friends, before we wrap it up, we got to thank our mods and our meme smiths who are doing an amazing job modding the fort down for us. keeping things nice and orderly. Our friends K Bean in the house, Just Cause, Playing Hooky. We got Ronnie Cole, Zach Nichols, Jan X here, Dog Digger, Economy Pilot, Donut Mind Me, Carrie B's helping out, our Meme Smiths, and Doc Masters are Elliot, Glocky McGlock, Geegum Geegum in the house, Nathan N810, and our friend Sleepy Dog Lee, all keeping this place nice and orderly. We had this comment come in from John. Says, on Gaza, the Russia-Iran position is in sync with Israel committing genocide. There's discussing ways to stop the genocide. Pepe Escobar. Well, we heard from Jake Sullivan this morning. Jake Sullivan came out from Oxford, and he told all of us that there's no genocide happening here because they have applied the international standard for what a genocide is, and they say there's no genocide. So, case closed, Jake Sullivan. There we go. All right, and so, my friends, that is it for us on the day. We are going to leave it there. Head on over to Locals for our after party, but we are going to come back here tomorrow to get into it again. And it's going to be no trial day, but we'll have updates in Florida, probably some Fanny updates, and we'll see what else is cooking out there. We'll have some fun. So come on back tomorrow because we'll be here. And in order to have a successful operation here, we need to see you right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.